this work?
Yeah.
So now that you have the funding, you can pay my fee, yeah? Okay, so I want to thank you all for welcoming me here today. I'm a systems person. I think that's the... I object to someone saying I'm not a natural scientist. So I'm a systems person. So I deal with systems. I know very little about it, but I know a little bit about individual technologies, but I apparently know how to put them all together, okay? And not only to put them together in a physical sense, but put them together in a market sense, a regulatory sense, you know, because putting things together is not just about physically connecting them, but it's also making sure that if there's a market that works correctly, regulation, etc., etc., etc. So the title of my talk is, you know, energy storage, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is the slide, the alternative slide that I could have used if the report that myself and Thomas are working on had been published, and then I could concentrate completely on the report. So, largely speaking, you're going to see the content of the report, but I'm not going to really refer to the report that often. So this is the slide. So it's about valuing dedicated storage in electrical power systems. So dedicated storage in this instance means electricity in, electricity out. That's it. That's what we looked at. That's a very focused piece of work, as opposed to some other forms of storage where you store energy, but you may be using it in a different form later, and I'll talk a bit about that later on as well. So, does everyone know the movie The Good, the Bad? Who here has seen the movie The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Hands up. Who here thinks it's a good movie? It's my favourite movie, okay? So, if you look at it, what we're trying to do, the methodology, you know, all good scientists have a methodology here. So, the transmission lines look at the electricity system. The person building like this is me. The euros mean value. Mind you, the euro may have no value. I don't know, dollars, euros. And these are storage devices down at the bottom. And I've got the two, you know, there's many types. There are batteries, and this is pumped hydro. So I'm going to try and go through it in terms of what's good about it, what's bad, and what's ugly. The good, the bad, and the ugly go in that sequence. I'm going to go the good, the ugly, and the bad. I'm going to just reverse the sequence a little bit. So I'll talk a little bit about power systems. I'm going to give 4 slides on power system engineering. Who here is a power system engineer? 1. Okay. So all the rest you will learn everything you need to know about power systems in 4 minutes. Okay? And this guy then can give you the rest of his detail. Are you going to tutorial later on? I think it's important that I give some sort of background. And again, this talk is not about deep understanding, because I mean, I'll sit here for the rest of the day and I'll get a little bit more about battery chemistry. I'm an amateur. But you know, I'm not expecting people to completely understand it, so I'll just give you some high level. If people want to ask you questions later on, they can. I'll then talk about the good, what storage can do and what it does do at the moment. I'll talk about the ugly. The ugly is that from the point of view of storage has got no natural market. None. We can run a power system without any storage whatsoever. It's got no natural niche in the marketplace at all. So it always has to compete, always. Unlike some other technologies that have a natural niche in the market. The bad, there are some people out there who believe that storage can solve global climate change, cancer, you know, you name it, they believe they can do everything. And that's the bad, and I'll try to explain it as well, and some conclusions. So Power System Engineering 101. This is a very simple diagram that's trying to explain in very simple form how a power system works. So the transmission system is what everyone sees this. Does everyone see this and recognize that that is the power system, yeah? Correct? When you see those when you're driving through the highway, you see these transmission lines. Do you recognize them as in part of it? Yeah? There's a whole other parts of it that you never see. But these are the parts that tie it all together into one system. So they are fundamentally what the power system is about. But if you were to look at it in terms of what it looks like physically, that's what it looks like. It's as if these things here, from a mechanical analogy point of view, took all the generators together and mechanically couple them into one system working together. Okay? You know, the other thing to think about is like a tandem bike with everybody cycling on it. So, although this generator is in Munich, this generator is in Denmark, this generator is in Spain, this generator is in Portugal, this generator is in Poland, they all, from a mechanical engineering point of view, are effectively all tied together by this system. They are one machine. In fact, they say that the electrical power system is the most complex machine on Earth. And it probably is, but it's not that it's in one location, it's actually spread across geographically. The thing about it is, though, you must keep supply-demand balance. If you do not have, if you lack supply-demand balance, but in other words, if you're consuming more than you make or you're making more than you consume, the system has a reliability problem. Okay, and this supply-demand balance is not something that can be done in. You know, you don't come to the end of the day and say, I've got too much energy or too little, and I'll sort it out tomorrow. Yeah, this system has seconds sometimes to react, not hours, days, but seconds. And the reason is the only natural form of storage in the power system is this rotating mass. Okay, because this is a rotating mass, okay? You all know enough to half I omega squared. Yeah? I know you're not all electrical engineers, but you know half I omega squared kinetic energy stored in a rotating mass? You all did physics, I assume. The only real storage that's in the system is the actual half I omega squared, the kinetic energy stored in that rotating mass. And it is in the order of seconds, maybe minutes, that's it. So the only natural store in the power system is this. This supply-demand balance must be maintained on a second-to-second basis. And if it doesn't, you have a problem. So storage has a beautiful situation whereby it can either add to the supply or take from the demand. It can act on both sides. So from a balancing point of view, it's a very natural technology, okay? And that's the good thing about storage, and that's why people think storage is a good thing for power systems. I use this slide quite often around the world, but this is the first time I've managed to use it in one of the countries that actually it occurred in, or that matters. Because this is the blackout in Italy in September 2003. Very simply, this is the frequency. The system went out of supply-demand balance, and what it is frequency, 50 hertz. If there's more demand than supply, the frequency goes down, okay? This thing starts rotating slower. And in fact, what actually happened here was interesting because it was a problem on the Swiss-Italian border. And I do tell this joke all the time, and you can check it out because I'm sure this is videoed in other places in the world. I tell the joke of this: would you buy a watch off an Italian or a Swiss? The answer is you buy it off a Swiss. In other words, it was the Italians who made a mistake, not the Swiss. And if I'm in Italy, I'll say exactly the same thing, so I'm not saying that to be nice to you. Basically what happened is that the Italians made a mistake. The Swiss told them there was a problem, they ignored it, and they paid the price. And the price was that the whole of Italy was blacked out for, I don't know, several hours. There's Italy. These maps that you see on the internet are all fake, just to let you know. They're not actually real, but they're useful. If you go online, you get them, they look like real, but they're actually all fake. Somebody went in and docked them or whatever. They're nice to have, they're fake. The simple fact of the matter is, because supply-demand balance wasn't maintained in Italy, it went black. And that's what you have. Time frames. So right here now, real time here, we have electricity in this room, we have the video projector, we don't, this is a good room actually because it's using natural light, which is useful. Most of the electric meters you really do not use natural light. So in order to maintain supply-demand balance in this room with those projectors and this camera, etc., somebody a long time ago, 70 years ago, needed to decide, they didn't do this specifically, but there would be electricity needed in Lucerne for Marco Mani to do the slideshow. So in advance, they need to make sure the infrastructure is in place, okay? I'm coming closer to it, so the planet, this is really a planning time frame of weeks and months, maintenance, planning time frames, days, hours, etc. There's all sorts of planning time frames that come up until real time. And in real time, you must maintain supply-demand balance. And this slinky here is supposed to indicate as well that the system must be pretty flexible, because if something happens, you have to have enough flexibility to maintain supply-demand balance, and I'll talk about that later. So this is sort of the planning, the power system timeframes, but literally decisions were made here in order to make sure that they could do it here. And remember, this is here, so there's an awful lot of uncertainty there as well. And again, you go back to storage and say, beautiful technology because it has this great flexibility about it. It can be on the supply side, demand side. So storage looks like a great asset to have in this system, okay? This is all the slides I use. Well, most of the slides, I think 50% of the slides I use are actually from my friends, but they use my slides, so I use them all with permission. But this is a friend of mine called Michael Milligan at NREL, the National Renewable Energy Lab in the US. And Michael, this is simulation. And what this graph shows you, if you show the red curve is 1 week's demand on some, I don't know what system it is, I'm not sure. It's some simulated system of some description, who knows. But it shows you, and you can see it's got a pattern to it, doesn't it? It's 7 days in the week. You can see the pattern. You've got seven, it goes up and down roughly 7 times. It's likely that these 2 days in here at the weekend, not sure because the load is slightly lower, etc. You add to it wind or solar. I mean, this is actually wind, but I've put in solar as well. Solar will have a similar but not the same type of effect. Solar is much more predictable. The sun goes down at night and comes up during the day. So it does have this much more sort of, it has a pattern that's a little bit more predictable. But nonetheless, you will always try and take the wind because is wind free? Is the wind energy free? Okay, he says yes, that lady says no. So why do you say it's free? You're wrong actually, she's right. Women are always right, it's one thing you learn in life.
You have to do some investment at the beginning.
Yeah. And that's why Europe went through a bad time recently, so people forgot to pay the banks. It's not free. It's free incrementally. Once the investment's done, it's free, but it's not free because you have to actually invest in it. But nonetheless, once you invest in it and it's there, incrementally, at that moment in time, it's free. But it's not really free because you have to pay off the banks. So you'll try and take it. So if you're going to try and take this because it's free, then the blue line is the net curve that you have to meet supply-demand balance. So originally you'd have to meet this red one. The wind comes along, you will take it because it's incrementally free, but it's not actually free, it's a capital cost. And the blue line essentially is the pattern that you have to meet. So if you look at it, it's much more variable than the red line, isn't it? It goes up and down faster, goes down further, etc. So fundamentally, when you put on wind and solar, what happens is that you need more flexibility in the system as well. And again, storage is something that can do that. This is wind, 3 minutes of wind, 1 second time resolution in Ireland. And you can see that wind is very variable, isn't it? Or even down to the 1 second resolution. I was showing an Ireland resolution. So wind is variable across all time scales. What this means is that, and this is just one use, there are a multitude of uses for storage, and I'll mention them, but this one I'll do a little bit of a concentration on. So I'm not saying this is the only use for storage, I'm saying it's one use, okay? Because it's the actual one use where storage actually is probably commercially viable right now, that's why I'm doing it. So you have a thing called regulation. If you maintain supply-demand balance, and you have to do it over a sort of second-to-second basis, this type of thing here doesn't help, okay? So what you find, it's called regulation. In other words, it's not to meet this. This is just load following. This is the sort of small little changes in here. It's called regulation. And it's a service on the electricity system. And it's one of the most valuable services in the electricity system. So maintaining supply-demand balance on a second-to-second basis is something you need to do for reliability. It's something that storage can do. And you'll see later on, it's something that storage probably is commercially viable to do in certain places in the world. But there's lots of other things it can do as well, and I'll talk about them as well. And sorry, this is Brendan Kirby, who's a friend of mine in the States. Okay, so they're good. So that's, who is he? He's actually a right-winger, unfortunately, as it turns out. He's a pro. He's probably going to vote for Imam, what's his name, Trump, but anyway. But I like him as an actor. Well, I don't know if he's an actor. Okay, storage applications. So this is a graph that we drew in 2012, and I think it's instructive to see, well in fact we probably drew it in 2011. It's instructive to see that in fact the diagram is currently wrong, because what we did is we looked at all the different technologies, we looked at the discharge time, hours, this is the speed. These are all the different applications. The one that I've talked about now is that one there. But it can do energy arbitrage, it can do capacity, it can do T&D deferred, congestion management, voltage control, black start, spinning reserve, renewable ramp reduction, regulation, power quality. So there's at least 8 or 9 services there, and there's more depending on how you define them. So a lot of things it can do. I've concentrated really on that one. I'll do a little bit of concentration on this one. Mature commercial demonstration R&D. You can see the lithium-ion batteries in here. We were saying at the time was just demonstration, but actually in the last few years it's become commercial. So it just shows you the pace that things are changing. And this is from the ESAC report itself, and if you see here, lithium-ion batteries of TR1109. So you can see that even 4 years ago, so this area is rapidly changing, okay? I think it's an important point to make. This is again from the ESAC report. Most storage devices and power systems are not batteries, they're pumped hydro. In fact, 98% of it is pumped hydro. Very small amounts are the other technologies, so it's mainly pumped hydro. So why is it pumped hydro? I'm not saying that this diagram proves anything, right? Because it's a much more involved argument you'd have to do to prove it. But this shows you the installation of pumped hydro and nuclear between 1969 and 2001. Now, they are correlated. Whether they're cause and effect is, that's another question. But they were largely cause and effect, right, okay? What was going on was that this was energy arbitrage. This was buy low, sell high, okay? And the reason that it apparently looked to make sense was a lot of nuclear has been built. Nuclear's incremental cost is essentially, back to our question before, is nuclear free? Forget about the fact that people die from it, that's irrelevant. Is nuclear free? Nuclear is one of those interesting ones where the capital costs are very high, but it also has some operational costs. So it's not just capital costs, it also has some wind has operational costs but very low. So nuclear incrementally is very cheap, but capital-wise very expensive. So nuclear power is very cheap from an operational point of view, but very expensive capital-wise. So it's very cheap. And then at the peak in most power systems in the world was oil. And what did we do in 1970s? We got rid of oil out of power generation. Why? Because it was a security supply issue. So in those days, nuclear was at the base, oil was at the peak, and the price spread between the two was enormous. Like, electricity was going from daytime prices to nighttime prices by an order of maybe 5 or 10. And therefore, energy arbitrage made sense. In other words, buy low, sell high. And the difference, although there was round-trip efficiencies of 25-30% loss, the price difference was still so much that you could make a lot of money and you could pay off the capital, which is enormous, okay? So I'm not going to go into a detailed analysis and show you that's true, but that's one of the main drivers. Other drivers were behind it was also the legislation and regulation in the United States. So you can trace back this correlation to many different things, but one of them was nuclear base and oil at peak. Also though, very important, always never take yourself seriously, right? Because if you do, you're in big trouble. Never take yourself seriously. We built a pump storage station in Ireland. We don't have nuclear. So why did we build it? Boys and toys. Engineers like to build stuff. That is absolutely, it's a very useful device in our system. It makes the system very easy to operate. It made life easier for the engineers. And it's also a nice toy to have. There's a lot of that goes on. Engineers will like to build the best of everything. Correct? They always like to build, engineers tend to build stuff and say, oh, we'll have a new one of those. Look at me, I've got one of these in my bag, I have 2 phones, I have 2 tablets, I have 2 notebooks. I'm an engineer, I like stuff. Yeah? So people also built it for that reason. And also it wasn't a competitive marketplace, and therefore you just had to convince the government that it was a good idea. They sold this to the Irish government on the basis of buy low, sell high. We didn't have nuclear. We had coal, so the argument wasn't quite as strong. So they couldn't quite make the same argument. So there was a bit of that going on as well. People wanted to build. Island applications, this guy's name is Nicholas Miller. He's a friend of mine in GE. They put a battery in 1979 or 1997, they put a battery in this location in Alaska. It's an island. It's not actually an island, but it's an island system. And it made sense. In fact, it saved an enormous amount of money, but it's an island. Okay, so on islands, batteries made sense even back in 1997. However, this gentleman here is an author on this paper here. He says, look before you leap, the role of energy storage in the grid. And he's one of the authors in a paper that shows you that, yes, it's still valid for places like that, but it's not ubiquitously a good idea. This is again showing you from the report. It shows you that the technology costs and the profiles. You can see the lithium-ion batteries have a very high probability of cost reductions, whereas some of the the mature technologies do not. This is where I got this from, Institute of Power Electronics. There's lots of these graphs showing that the cost of lithium-ion batteries is declining. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. I won't say any more than that. There's a big debate as to exactly what the price costs are. There's no doubt about it that some technology is declining cost. So this graph these are slides from PJM, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland. It's an ISO in the States. And Scott Baker is one of the employees. Energy storage balance of the 21st century. He gave it at a conference last October. And he was saying performance regulation. So back to that regulation thing I talked about before. And he shows this is a Ferrari, and this is a Ford pickup, right? Now, what I say about storage is that storage is like comparing a Ferrari with a Ford Focus. Yeah? And my story is that the Ford Focus can do most everything you want. You can go up and down high. This is just, you buy this car for sex appeal. That's the only reason. I mean, I do not know Well, you guys can't, you go to Germany to drive it, don't you? Yeah, but you're not allowed to actually drive it here. I mean, having a Porsche or a Ferrari in this country is a waste of money. Okay? So, what he said about performance, he was saying that this here has a different type of performance. Let's go on. This is, energy storage can perform in terms of regulation much better than other units because it's faster. And therefore, storage in the regulation market has an advantage. Okay? But unfortunately, storage regulation, so this is me, this is some other gentlemen, they set up a flywheel technology business, and this is 2011. And that was in the regulation market as well, and that company went bust 4 months later. Okay, so yes, the regulation market has money in it, but be careful. So the ugly. Think about it as competition. This is storage, this is the competition. There's no natural thing that storage can do that something else can't do. And if you look at this, you'll see all those, they're all mature, they're different technologies. So some analysis. If you do some numbers in this, this shows you that the net savings with storage, the zero line, above the zero line, you're making net savings by installing storage, okay? And you can see that this is 51% of wind in Ireland. Ireland currently has 20%. So maybe at 50% of wind, you start to make some net savings. But they're only net savings. So in other words, below 50% wind or storage system makes sense in the Irish system. This shows you emissions. Actually, if we were to replace storage with the current technology, the emissions go up, they don't go down. The reason is, from an economic point of view, what you'll do is you burn more coal in the UK and import it and replace gas. And gas is lower CO2. You know, you buy low, sell high. The low generation is from coal, you're replacing gas. CO2 from coal is twice as much as gas. I'll skip over that. The competition. So this is the final scene in the movie, yeah? The competition. So if you look at competition for all these technologies, this is work done by a colleague of mine at BTT, and he shows all the different technologies from the point of view of flexibility. Demand response, this is storage batteries. This is batteries as they are now, this is batteries as they might be in the future. But this one here is the best cost benefit. The single biggest competition that storage has is transmission, believe it or not. People look at it and say, why? Well, if you understand electrical systems, it's the thing that ties it all together. And if you put transmission in, you actually reduce the need for flexibility, and you get flexibility from elsewhere. And this is the most flexible form of technology in the system of all. Because it enables everything else. It itself is not flexible, but because it's there, it enables everything else. The problem with transmission, people don't like it to be built, okay? And therefore some people say, can we not just put in storage, you know, store the energy and send it down the line later? But if you do the economics on it, it is absolutely horrendous, okay? You think about the amount of energy that these transmission lines can carry, and you look at the amount of batteries you have to have or storage, and you find the economics do not work out great. Virtual storage. So let's just talk about this. So this is not direct storage, dedicated storage, this is heat. If you go to China, they live in very large, you know, apartment buildings, and they have centralized heating systems. And one of the problems in China at the moment is they're actually curtailing wind because the heat being generated by the CHP is also generating electricity. They can't actually fit the wind into the system, and therefore they can't turn off the heat because people will freeze, and therefore they're turning off the wind. So what you do is if you make the combined heat and power more flexible by adding in thermal storage, it makes a difference. This is work we did with Tsinghua University. This is business as usual, this is curtailment. These are the different options. So if you make thermal storage more flexible, you can actually avoid curtailment, but it's not dedicated storage. This technology is much cheaper, much easier to deploy, and much more commercially viable than dedicated storage. And if you see BTT slides, you'll see that CHP makes sense. Okay, so to finish it off then, I'll just do this one here. So, seasonal storage. People say there's a problem with seasonal storage. How do you do over seasons? This shows you 2010 wind and solar, okay? Or wind in Ireland and load. And it's done on a monthly basis. Now I realise if you're doing a weekly, daily basis, things look different. If we were to try and supply our system with 100% wind, right, we have a problem. We have too much wind in the winter and too little wind in the summer. You could build these pump storage stations, right? We'd need 5,000 of them. Okay, 5,000. You could charge up your car during the winter and drive it all summer. Not going to happen. Maybe what it is that you should actually develop society in a way that we use more energy when it's available. In other words, build factories, build processes that use energy during the winter and not during the summer, etc. So maybe it's how you live, it's how you... So seasonal storage, I think, will actually come about because of the way we consume electricity. I'll move on from here and just go to this last slide. This is one of our commissioners, yeah? You're not in the commission. I wonder if this is an April Fool joke, because it was actually said on April 1st, 2015. He said, as I've already alluded to, what shale gas did for the US economy, smart grids and should do in Europe. Smart grids, part of smart grids is storage, right? This is the bad. The bad is that politicians go out and say things that are completely, absolutely wrong. But yet they say them. And no one challenges them, but they're wrong. And that is what's bad about this, is that people then go and say storage is the solution. It's not. It's one solution for some problems, but it's like everything else, it must compete. And then, this is the good and the ugly. Yeah, they did get together in the end, if you saw the movie, and they cooperated with each other. So there is opportunities in this area. So I'm not all negative about storage. I'm saying there is opportunities. And if the good and the ugly, in other words, if these two people get together, leave out the bad, there are opportunities. And we can discuss them later. So there you go. I'll finish up there. So storage has many potential roles in the future. In dedicated electricity, it's dedicated storage. Virtual storage is more competitive. Battery technology is declining. I didn't talk about efficiency, but obviously efficiency is another improvement as possible. Price distortions can cause perverse incentives. It's a great research topic, and it's interdisciplinary. It's not interdisciplinary in terms of you must understand what you're developing it for. That's what I mean by interdisciplinary. A sound scientific advice of policymakers is important, and this report will be out shortly. And there's thank you. The most important person, oh sorry Ursula, I spelled your name wrong. Where's Ursula? She's not here, good, don't tell her. She was the most important person of all in this because she managed to get me my hotel. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry for going over time. Questions? There you go.